r/AskReddit. What's the best little kid logic you've ever heard? At a family lunch, my aunt asked my little sister what she wanted to be when she grew up, and she said penguin. My 4-year-old cousin laughed and said that was impossible. My aunt then asked what he wanted to be, and he said, a dinosaur. Your cousin is very smart. He already knows that birds aren't real, because the government made them after killing all the real birds. There were never any birds. It's a conspiracy against the masses. The little boy I used to babysit spent all his time trying to surprise the dog. He reasoned the dog could probably talk but didn't want to reveal this because then she would have to do chores, clean up after herself, etc. Several times a day he would unexpectedly barge into a room, hoping to catch the dog in mid-conversation. Or he'd silently sneak along the walls, trying to eavesdrop. I used to think that cats understood and thought in Japanese. Of course they couldn't speak it. They are cats. They meow. My reasoning was this: cats don't listen to humans like dogs do. Therefore, cats must not understand English. My Mexican friends' cats didn't listen, either, so they don't understand Spanish. A cat ignored a Vietnamese friend of mine, so that must mean cats don't understand Vietnamese. So, the only other language I could think of for a cat to understand would be Japanese. Daddy, can I be a digger when I grow up? You can be whatever you want when you grow up, honey. No, I can't. I can't be the tooth fairy. An exchange between my little sister at 5 and my dad. Bonus, I was making cookies with my 2-year-old cousin. She tried to eat the butter because if it looks like cheese, it's cheese. I went to a Christian private school, so in kindergarten, we were taught Bible stories all the time. There was one story about a woman who got stoned because she had children and wasn't married. Now, I recall my kindergarten teacher saying she had children, and we referred to her as Miss, so that meant she was unmarried. Also, she had these bumps on her face. I know now that they were just warts, but at the time, I thought those were marks that she got from getting stoned. I literally went up to her and told her she should get married or she'll be stoned. She told my parents. What the fuck did she expect? Little kids don't have that filter and strong social skills. She just told you the same thing, and if anything it only proves you were listening and aware of your surroundings. I hope you weren't punished for that. Haha, no, the teacher was really nice about it. I feel like she misunderstood me though. She probably thought that my parents were teaching me weird things about marriage at home. But no, it was literally the stoning story at Bible class. Who teaches kindergarteners about stoning? When I was a kid I thought only black kids were allowed to play double dutch. I had only ever seen them be the ones to play it on TV, and no one I knew ever played it, so I just assumed that I, a white kid, was not allowed to play double dutch. Turns out that representation really does matter even in the small things. My nephew, he doesn't 100% understand the human body is. He knows boys stand, women sit. Well, I sit. His mom, him and I were out on his porch, and then in the most serious voice, ha, you don't have a penis, you have to pee out your butt like mommy. We all laugh and his mom just looks at him and goes, that's not how that works. He still is kinda confused about how people use the bathroom. Should state, I said, due to him barging in and wanting to see me pee for whatever reason. He'll also go into the corner or under the sink. We were working on having him stop cause it's inappropriate and makes me uncomfortable. Doesn't help that I dress very femme, leggings with shorts usually, and a shirt, and since he's around 7ish he won't get the talk on why his uncle goes by a girl's name and wears girl's clothing and has breast. Yet give it like 5ish years. He also said, if I don't like something then he won't. I was very close with my ex's family. They have 8 kids and they are all hilariously witty from a young age. Being a large family, there was always stuff lying about the driveway and yard. When the second to youngest was 3, they were late for an event and their father backed out of the driveway without looking. Upon hearing a loud noise, they realized that he had run over multiple bikes. They kept driving and didn't get out to assess the damages as they were already late. As they were leaving their street, the 3-year-old inquires, you want to go back, Dad? You missed the neighbor's cat. I myself had some funny kid logic. When I was about 6 or 7 years old, for some reason, I believed that only one person could be called a name at a time, because if 2 people had the same name it'd be confusing. Because on cartoon shows, everybody had a different name, so it must work the same way in real life, right? That was also why there were different forms of names, Ted, Ed, Edward, etc., so that there would be more names to choose from. This belief was immediately challenged when my dad told me that my middle name was Harold, which was the same name as Harold the helicopter from my favorite show at the time, Thomas the Tank Engine. Something snapped in my dumb kid brain upon learning this. So much to my dad's confusion, I stomped my foot and yelled as loud as I could, "I am not a helicopter." I eventually figured out that wasn't how names worked. Definitely the best in terms of most embarrassing for my parents. I grew up a JW. It was instilled from a young age that you were to dress very modestly. I would overhear my own family members commenting on other people all the time. The one that stuck out the most was women's physical appearances. One day at a family gathering, my aunt by marriage walks out from the kitchen into the living room where everyone was talking. 5-year-old me pipes up and tells her in Spanish that her makeup makes her look like a prostitute. I had overheard, from mainly my mom, that if a woman wore high heels and lots of makeup that she was a prostitute. My family stopped talking about people in front of me after that. When I was little, I used to tell my parents that I didn't have to finish my vegetables before eating dessert because I had separate stomachs for each, like a cow. So for example, my stomach for peas is full, but I have plenty of room in my ice cream stomach. Probably not a huge surprise that I became an attorney and competed in multiple eating challenges. I was scrolling through the news one day. There was a big headline about a terrorist attack that killed like 238 people or something insane like that. My boy saw me shaking my head. He asked me what's wrong. I told him what happened. Then I got all philosophical. If only there was a button we could press that could make all the bad people in the world just disappear so the rest of us could be safe. My boy replied, "If we're going to wish for things, let's wish that all the bad people turned into good people. Then there would be more good people." That was 10 years ago or so. It's still one of my favorite childhood memories of him. I used to volunteer at an organization with special needs children. There was one, Ed, not his real name, who made me laugh on a regular basis with his logic. My favorite was the time he was knocking over blocks. We told him not to do it anymore. So he knocked over the blocks using a doll. When we questioned him, he looked at the doll, then at us, then said, "The doll did it." I miss him. When I was 5, I saw a sign outside of McDonald's that said, "No trespassing, violators will be prosecuted," and I was still new to this whole reading thing, and I asked my big sister what that big word was, and she said the sign said, "Violators will be prostituted," then explained what prostitution was, and for the longest time I thought McDonald's was running a forced prostitution ring. "Yeah, can I get a Big Mac meal with a Coke?" And that busty redhead, "No thanks, don't supersize it." When I was a kid, I used to think clouds come exclusively from nuclear power plants. I didn't know how they worked, but I knew they released steam, a lot of it, from what I could see. And clouds are steam. I put 2 and 2 together and came up to the only possible conclusion: clouds come from nuclear power plants. When watching movies or cartoons with stories that took place in the past, I always thought that's not realistic. There are clouds in the sky. My little brother made a mouse trap which, as he explained to me, worked like this: a mouse will walk up these little steps, see the treat, and run to go get it. But oh no! He'll trip over this little rock here and fall into this little bowl. He won't leave the bowl because he'll just be so confused that he'll stay put. He imagines mice like they were little men. He's even thought about leaving them notes, and he's tried to play pranks on them. When I was about 8, my teacher told me demons were real, and she had witnessed an exorcism in the Vatican. Laugh out loud, my little kid brain believed it, and it traumatized me to spending a huge chunk of my childhood in deathly fear that I or someone I loved could get possessed at any moment. I never went to another sleepover, camping trip, etc. ever again. Sleeping in my own home was a nightmare too, as demons don't give a fuck. Nobody can protect you. Thanks, Miss Gallagher. I hope you're dead. This was a story from my mom, since I was too young to remember this, since it happened when I was in kindergarten. The lesson was honesty, and teacher is telling a scenario like this: you and your friends are playing in the house. One of your friend accidentally broke your mom's favorite vase. Your friend said, "The cat did it." But you know he was lying. What will you do? Then she proceeds to ask the student what to do, and most of them says they would say the truth and not lie for their friends, while a small number says they will value friendship over the cat. But somehow, I had a different response. "Sorry mom, I did it." The teacher was curious and asked me why would I say that. I don't want my mom to punish my friends or my cat. They might not come back to play with me anymore. This immediately raised a red flag, and teacher thought I might be a victim of abuse, so she talked to my mom. Thanks for listening and getting this far. I hope you all enjoyed, and remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed.